Android Pay on the way, the Fire Phone goes out, and a slew of Apple news. I am Mark Bursteiner with Techno Buffalo, and this is the Buffalo Breakdown. Welcome to the breakdown for the weekend of 9/12/15. That's September 12th for those of you who have trouble with numbers. Lots of stuff to get through, so let's get right down to it. First up, Android Pay is finally launching via Google Play. If you're wondering why this is different from Wallet, it's because Pay is actually using the virtualized hardware that Android now supports, where Wallet was using a universal card support. Cards won't be universally supported with Android Pay since card companies are going to need to support it, but it is going to be much safer, much more secure, and most importantly, you're going to get to keep all of your points and cash back rewards on your cards, which is not something you could do with Google Wallet. The Blue Pure XL is the latest entry in the value phone market, and it looks like a screamer. It's rocking the MediaTek Helio X10, which is the high-end system on a chip with 10 cores from the silicon manufacturer. Yes, I did say 10 cores, by the way. On paper, this is like the first true flagship level device at an affordable price that I have seen anyway. I mean, listen to this, ready? 6-inch Quad HD display, 24 megapixel rear camera, 8 megapixel front-facing camera, 64 gigs of storage, and 3 gigs of RAM. I cannot wait to get my hands on this thing, especially with the rumored Nexus 5X right around the corner. Both seem to be sporting that little fingerprint sensor in the back. Lots and lots of choices in this arena these days, so I'm really stoked to see if the Pure XL is my next phone. Amazon's fabled flop, the Fire Phone, is finally extinguished. Yes, that was a lot of Fs, and I nailed it. Stock has finally run out, which means that people were still buying them, I guess, for some reason. The device suffered from a plethora of issues, not to mention a price of $200 on contract. I also wouldn't expect to see a Fire Phone 2 anytime soon, given that they also just laid off most of the team that was responsible for the original device, so rest in peace, Fire Phone. All right, now for that sweet Apple news that you've all been waiting for. Obviously, we had the Apple event this week revealing some sweet stuff out in San Francisco, so let's get some small ones out of the way first. The newest version of OS X is landing September 30th. It's called El Capitan, and it is a bit of an incremental update, but it is exciting nonetheless. watchOS 2 is also on the way with third-party complications that are going to allow developers to include small little data points and widgets into apps and watch faces, plus that Apple Watch now comes in 2 new finishes, gold and rose gold. The brand new Apple TV was unveiled as well. The new device is a pretty significant upgrade, especially with the specs on the inside, but the real changes come in the form of tvOS, Apple's new OS for the device that'll allow it to run iOS games and apps with just a little bit of modification on the dev side to support the larger screen. The new UI is much easier on the eyes. It's really pretty. It's got this great parallax effect on the covers of movies. And the brand new remote has some Wiimote-like abilities for games, a touchpad for navigation, and most importantly, a microphone. When you miss a line, you can ask Siri, what did he say? And the Apple TV will automatically rewind 15 seconds and turn on closed captioning for those 15 seconds just so that you can see what that person said. I will take 2 of these for my parents. Please have them rush shipped to their house. The iPad Mini 4 was also updated kind of under the radar to Air 2 specs. With all the hubbub about the iPad Pro, which we're going to get to, it may have kind of slipped under that radar, like I said. So it's now rocking the same specs as the iPad Air. So if you're like me, you prefer a smaller form factor for your tablets, this is a great option for the price now. Of course, it wouldn't be an Apple event without a little bit of disappointment / sticker shock. Apple's new iPad Pro is a gigantic 12.9-inch iPad. It's still running iOS, but Apple thinks that that's going to be enough for you to replace a portable computer. While I'm not sure that's quite true, it does make perfect sense for Apple to be making these kinds of moves to converge iOS and OS X, the 2 major platforms that they work on. That is not all, though. There's also a smart keyboard cover, which is very reminiscent of the Surface's Type cover. And of course, we would be remiss not to mention the Apple Pencil, which can detect pressure, angle, all kinds of really cool stuff. In terms of being a stylus on an iPad, yes, whatever, but it's a pretty cool device. I think it does look really silly, and it's going to look super funny plugged into the iPad Pro for charging, but you can pick up an iPad Pro at the whopping price of $799. The cover is going to run you $129, in the US, and the pencil is, yes, $99. The iPhone 6s and 6s Plus are finally on the way. They should be launching before the end of September. And yes, they look the same as the last model on the outside, but I mean, you can compare them on the inside, right? As you know, the S models of iOS devices tend to be the more incremental changes, but this time around we're seeing something that I think is going to be really, really huge. This is the first iOS device since the iPhone 3G that I've seriously considered purchasing. 3D Touch is new tech in the new iPhone that allows the 6S and 6S Pluses to detect pressure from your fingers on the screen. It's essentially a replacement for the long press interaction, which was never terribly elegant. This removes the inherent latency present in the long press in that gesture, and it adds multiple layers of interaction. I cannot wait to play with it. This is such a huge step for user experience, and I cannot wait. Of course, it's also got some other cool new stuff. It's got a 4K camera now, some much stronger 7000 series aluminum, a much better fingerprint sensor, and a bunch more upgrades under the hood. Pricing on the new iPhones is all going to remain exactly the same as last year, but of course, last year models are now the affordable ones. Well, herders, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. You guys may have noticed some sweet new animations in the show this week. We got some new lower thirds, and I just wanted to point out we got them from our friends at Video Blocks. They've got a ton of great post-work templates for After Effects and for Apple Motion. We grabbed one that looked cool, and it came with instructions and all that cool stuff for a template. Plus, you can use as much or as little of it as you want. So we just grabbed the part that we wanted to use for the lower thirds, which you'll see right here, which is nice and pretty. They have a subscription model is the way that works. So you can pay $10 a month to get access to their entire library. Plus, they were nice enough to send along a link for us, for you guys, which you can find in the description to get yourself a free 7-day trial with Video Blocks, not to mention up to 140 clips that you can download over that 7-day trial. It's really, really cool stuff, so if you work in post, absolutely do check it out. For all of the details on all of these stories, you can head to technobuffalo.com for all of that sweet information. Let me know what you guys think about 3D Touch and the Pure XL in the comments down below. You can hit like and subscribe if you want to see more of this dumb mug. And as always, thank you for watching. Be kind to one another, and I'll catch you in the next video.